This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, miniatures, and paints, discount prices at miniaturemarket.com. Hey everybody, it's your old pal Rob. So, as usual, I'm just going about my usual daily business as I always do, and try to stay out of trouble as much as I can. And I receive a phone call from a very dear friend who has been in the business of board gaming, and wanted to know my opinion on how he felt certain things were going to happen to me. And it seems that there are a bunch of major companies that are in some real serious debt. I mean, millions of dollars worth of debt, and how they're going to come out of it, and how it's going to affect reviewers. It's going to affect you. It's going to affect the board gaming industry as a whole. And when we talk about millions of dollars, we're talking close to $1 billion of debt. So how do you resolve that? You know, one of the things that was said to me was, well, you know what they're going to try to do? They're going to raise prices, which we've all felt recently in the board gaming world. And they are going to lower quality, which is going to frustrate the consumer. After hearing some of this news, I ran a poll on the channel here asking how much do you spend. Now, back in 2016, 17, and 18, which I really feel were some of the bigger years, you know, especially with Gen Con and things like that, Gen Con 50 and so forth and so on. What year that fell in, I wish I could remember. There was a lot of spending. People were spending $200 to $300 to $400 a month on board games, Euro games, miniature games. You know, you could say, oh, well, it was just on the big Kickstarter. No, it wasn't just on all the big Kickstarters. It was on anything that came out. There was an average of anywhere from 800 to 1,200 new games that came out or were debuted at Gen Con, okay, and Essen as a whole. And at that point, 90% of them were coming for the summer, because they knew that at Gen Con, if they can debut it at Gen Con and also have it in, you know, at their booths and at retail stores, that they were going to be able to sell, you know, and people were buying like crazy. And now you look at these conventions and how they're going after coming out of COVID and everything else that has transpired and recession that has happened. People are not buying as much. Okay, even after my sickness and all that, I took it on the chin. The farm, all the life stuff happens. You know, I don't spend the way I used to spend. I can't. I just can't. You know, I'm looking back at things that I have already, which I'm very blessed. I'm so blessed to have everything that I have here. And I think a lot of people are doing that. Yeah, we want all the new stuff, but the prices are going insane. You know, the trend kind of started with Onslaught. A very, very good game, but you were paying $140 for nothing. For nothing, really. And I'm not picking on that game. I'm just giving that as an example. You know, this isn't about trashing Dungeons and Dragons, which is another thing that is heading downhill. It seems this is going to really affect people. These companies are going to start cutting places. Where do you think the first place they're going to start to cut? Okay, well, there's a couple places that they're going to cut. And we talked about this. First thing you're going to do is, like I said, you are going to raise the prices of your new product coming out. Number two, you're going to lower the quality of your products coming out. The next thing is marketing. You are going to market it a lot smarter. And you know who's going to hurt that? And that's going to hurt? That's going to hurt the bigger board game channels. Okay? The ones that rely on getting paid to do their reviews. Okay, I'll give you a high quality video okay? But it's going to cost you $2,000, $800, $400, whatever it's going to cost. They are going to cut that. They're going to cut that out, and they will market themselves. They'll make a YouTube channel, and they'll say, hey, we'll do this for free. We'll just film it ourselves. And if those channels, those big channels, okay, that can bring in the money, okay, that can bring in things, you know, or be able to demand certain prices, okay. If they're going to get hurt and that's going to be cut out, and a bunch of companies are going to say, hey, we can't afford to do this anymore. We'll give you a free copy if you if you want to do it, but as far as paying you anymore, we can't afford to do that. Okay? And yes, they do have marketing budgets, but they're going to be a lot smarter with those marketing budgets. If they're going to cut, it's always marketing and quality. That's how you get out of trouble sometimes. Sometimes you're too far in it. But if a lot of these companies do this, and now your favorite reviewers are not getting paid, where are they going to try to shift that to? Well, we can't do this anymore. They're going to come to you. They're going to come to you and they're going to say, hey, I'm not getting, some of them don't mention that they get paid. But if they get hit there, they're going to be looking to their patrons to be funded by you, the consumer, to give them answers or be able to bring product in. And how does that affect you? Well, it's hard enough that you can't afford to get these games now because they become so expensive. But now your favorite reviewer, they expect you to pay their way. So it really gets dumped on the consumer. And if the consumer gets disgusted enough, they are going to go and find different avenues. Okay? And when people go and leave things and they're not able to sell things the way they used to, then it gets washed out. Okay? Things get washed out. And if things get washed out, and I use that in a term because I think of the video game crash, and even now, it never really recovered. You get a couple of really great games, but the most of it is independent stuff. You start relying on independent stuff. Does that happen here? You look at all the companies and how video games got completely washed out, where everything is kind of generic. There's nothing really exciting. You have a couple things that come along that are just mind-blowing. Elder Ring and things like that take you by surprise. For me, it's the little independent things, Slay the Spire and stuff like that. That's where things really start to shine. That's where people put their hearts and soul into things. And does the independent person rise to kind of push out the old and the new come in, maybe keeping it alive? Or do people just walk away? Wow, this is too expensive. Maybe I'll just stick with what I have. Wow, I have a tremendous, and there'll be a renaissance of older stuff, the way there is with video games. People are reaching for older games because the quality of the newer games, you can have all the beautiful graphics in the world, but the older game has the gameplay. And if you look over the last 10 years, what has come out in this tremendous golden age of board gaming, do you go back and start looking at some of these? People are tired of playing this. Well, I'll bring it in because I could bring this in for $40 instead of paying $150, $160. It's used. I don't care. I'm going to get the experience I want. Does that happen? Does it become a retro board gaming, renaissance? There's a lot of ways to look at this. But the people that really get hurt in this, okay, is I really think that the big time reviewer is going to get hurt. Where there are a million independent people and stuff like that. Maybe they get frustrated because they can't get to that level, and they quit. And then you just got people that just like to be on camera, okay? That just like to be on camera and hear themselves talk. There'll be plenty of those, but will you get the value that you would have gotten from the bigger, more popular guy? Okay? If he is forced to work a full-time job, okay, and can't do this, and you can't help fund him, okay? And does that also hurt, the board games themselves? Geez, I really want to get this game, but I don't know enough about it, and there's not enough people, and I don't trust that guy, and I don't trust that guy, but my big guy, he just can't afford to do it. Do we run into that? Again, a lot of this is speculation. These are things that we had talked about and we're bringing up. How does it affect that guy that really relies on things? How does it rely on the quality of game? How does it rely on a downward slope in the marketing sense? Is it going to affect the reviewers where they can't afford to continue their business, okay, and have to look elsewhere for work, okay? And how does it affect the most important person of it all, the consumer? Because you're talking, over $1 billion of debt all over the place, okay, if not more. And can these companies come back from that? They have to make the hard decisions. This isn't going to affect you tomorrow or even at the end of this year. I think you're really going to feel this in the next year or two. What is the board game market going to look like 2 years from now? And when somebody goes back and looks at this, either you're laughing at me like I'm out of my mind, or maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm onto something. It's a very weird and dangerous time. It can go a number of different ways, and a lot of them, it's kind of like Dune. I see a million ways that they lose, and there could be a couple of golden paths. Can we find a way through this? And I know it sounds all doom and gloom, but it's a reality. It is a reality, and it's going to affect the market. And it's going to affect the consumer, and it's going to affect reviewers and people that do playthroughs and things like that. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope that all the things that have transpired in the last month or so do not crash and burn something that we love and has been around for so long, or water it down to the point where, yeah, I remember when I used to play board games. Everything goes up and everything goes down. It seems like we're heading into that down period, possibly. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope and hope things don't hurt the consumer as much as it looks like it's going to. Hopefully there are ways through this. So those are my thoughts. I would love to hear what you think on this, okay? And leave that in the comments, and be kind and be smart and be articulate, okay? It's okay to disagree, but being constructive is important. So I would love to hear whether you agree or disagree, what your thoughts are on some of the things that I've said, and where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? And how do we manage this? It's a very interesting and weird time here. So let's see how it goes. Until next time, it's your old pal Rob. We'll see you soon, everybody.